Hi everyone, I'm Karen Crisis, author of a book called Italy's Witches and Medicine Women, Volume 1. I'm about to return to Italy at the very end of May for a research trip which will become Volume 2. Some of you listening already generously contributed when, in 2016, I went to stay in Italy for my second time to uncover the truth behind pervasive beliefs spread by the church that witches in Italy were evil women who had orgies with the devil. I felt there must be some kind of powerful truth hiding behind that fantastical deterrent story, so ingrained in people's minds. The details of that journey became 339 pages of my book. What I discovered there was something I had experienced in a vision. Healers using secret handed-down lineages, which are traditions of curing specific diseases, using daily life objects, and a channeled, divinely feminine energy from the spirit world, which makes these very humble-looking cures a type of shamanism rather than folk magic or ritualistic magic. I've been traveling over the past year and a half, giving workshops and demonstrations about some of these curing traditions, which are living legacies of pre-pagan practices, having to do with beliefs in a female divinity who has no male counterpart, and I'll demonstrate this further in my next books. These are oral traditions for improving life which accomplish magic in plain sight, magic that is not ritualistic, but specific and has an immediate effect in the physical world. Some cures look more tangible, even though the results are still a mystery, such as I found in Triora, City of Witches of the North, with Antonietta, the last remaining strega there, who holds her family's oral tradition of herbal cures for specific diseases. She also cures a painful back condition at a distance, simply using moonlight and a secret prayer in the name of the person. She's also a harvester. She learned from the men in her family all the secrets of plants, where to gather them, when to harvest them, and she learned from the women how to utilize them and improve the quality of life and cure illnesses. I took a cure from her, and I describe it in my book in detail. The most extraordinary part for me of meeting her and being cured by her is the feeling of the divine feminine energy she channeled, which filled the room like an explosion of white light that was so beautiful and loving it made me cry. This is the mountaintop property of herbalist Doriana, whose philosophy is that plants know how to take care of themselves. She believes that plants grown in intensive methods and dependent on people's artificial light and cramped conditions and rushed growth times are deprived of this ability. If a plant can't take care of itself, she says, it can't take care of you. Her teacher is a medium and heals people with her hands and the help of her spirit guide. But Doriana also went to school. She believes, however, we all have knowledge of the curing plants in our DNA, and that when we spend time in nature, we remember. There are lineage cures which cure specific illnesses like sciatica or indigestion, and then there are those, like I experienced in Guardia San Framondi, another mountaintop village in the Campania region, which cure energetically transferred illnesses and symptoms. This result of having a symptom caused by negative energy or negative spirits, such as a headache or mind fog or lethargy or obsessive thoughts, is called il malocchio, or the evil eye. Filomena released il malocchio from me using a technique called occhi, or simply eyes. This is both a diagnostic process and a cure all in one. I describe it in my book, feeling both physical reactions as well as seeing scenes of my past lives where this curse affected my current life and how that cure has continued to undo those harmful effects. You can also read more about this technique on my WordPress page, Italy's Witches and Medicine Women.wordpress.com. You can see here she is using a secret prayer to invite the cure, as well as diagnosing drops of oil in the water. I also felt a tremendous, divinely feminine spirit energy working around me, channeled through Filomena's technique, and I describe that in my book as well. One of the most prevalent beliefs among Italy's lineage healers and midwives is in a divinely feminine source, Dea Madre, Grande Dea, Grande Madre. While we find paired gods and goddesses from the Greek and Roman ages, those are more modern inventions, and those remodelings come from a masculine reorganization of spirituality stories. So we don't find a lot of these women relating to them. Among these healing lineages, some of the women will even laugh at you if you ask them about goddesses such as Diana. The lineage people prefer to keep things unnamed or with general names, such as I already mentioned. But I did go to the remains of Tempio di Diana that used to be on the shores of Lago di Nemi, or Lake Nemi. And though the legend says it was once protected by oak trees, I found this land full of, instead, ferns and olive trees, which is more significant considering olive tree is considered to be an apotropaic magical gift from the goddess to prevent negative energy affecting someone. Even though this temple was built by men, I did feel her presence here, and I buried people's prayers and requests for healing on what was the opposite side of the wall where the original altar stood. There are many places in Italy outside the tourist spots where you can go feel the presence of female divinities and protective spirits and ancestors. I explained in my book how the Signora del Gioco, the Bonadea, reached out to earthly women when their lineages were broken by invasive male wars and the witch hunts, for example, in different historical time periods. And I believe this is how we will reclaim many of these traditions that are dying out now through channeling and mediumship. I visited places haunted by the spirits of women kidnapped, inquisited, and burned. They showed me memories and details of their lives that were not documented, and I attempted to give them some relief in bearing some of their grief. I visited the mountaintop village of Baiardo, which has a crumbling church alleged to have been used by Druids. Whether or not, this village still has a tradition of standing a tree trunk in the road for a celebration, which reminds of all the tree legends in Italy that have to do with healer women and their female divinities, the tree being a natural symbol of divinely feminine wisdom come down to earth, like her body, reaching into the earth and up into the heavens. And the many legends of the tree being a conduit expressed itself also in places like Sutri and the Etruscan catacombs, which was also a matrilinear culture. Here they have a sacred grove of trees where the Etrusci buried their prayers, which is a practice my own spirit guides taught me. We also have perhaps the most famous tree legend, the Noce di Benevento, or the walnut tree of Benevento, known all over Italy and her islands. I met with author Carlo Napolitano, who I'll meet with again, who has written not only about the legend in extent, but of the actual geographic location where it was alleged to have grown and been chopped down. I went to this area and I describe it in my book, staying at midnight under a full moon at the most haunted of the 3 apotropaic charges, which look like one-room churches. I document what the spirits there shared with me and what they were protecting. I went to the one that faces the mountain, who holds the remains of the Temple of Cibele, and had an amazing electrified experience here too. And on this next trip I will go to the mountaintop where those remains are. Carlo taught me how to recognize syncretized statues as markers for important places where the goddess manifested herself physically. I also determined to get myself down to the Sabato River of the Janaro witches legend. It seemed impossible at first, the sides of the rivers being like sheer, straight cliffs protected by impenetrable nature, but I ended up being led to an opening by a trail of walnut shells. No walnut trees nearby, just a trail of walnut shells, and once I did make it to the riverbank's tiny 2-person breadth of sand. There was a single walnut shell waiting for me. Trees, rivers, and mountaintops are associated with goddesses all over Italy. Not only the idea or concept of a goddess, but the people actually experience her energies here, and that they have connections to women, witches, and healers. There's much magic and inner traditions in Italy, and places can be visited like Celtic initiation chambers or mystery school remnants. In the area of Cividale del Friuli, where the Longobards came into Italy, and the area that Carlo Ginzburg wrote about, we have not only Celtic imprints and Scandinavian ones, but also the still living traditions of Benandanti. I was fortunate enough to meet with some Benandanti and to learn from them and what they have to say about their secret tradition. The Italian philosophy about health runs from the most magical traditions into the healer lineages and even into popular culture. The positive thoughts and happy thoughts and behaviors keep balanced and happy digestion, and that all of this affirmative action keeps negative spirits away. The beliefs in the spirit world run deep here, and that spirits can affect the health, our reality. We see this in the Amaro drinks, industrialized proprietary drinks based on earlier peasant traditions, made from essential oils and medicinal herbs and spices, which improve and promote healthy digestion, but whose properties also have apotropaic effects against the negative energy in the spirit world. So we see these same herbs used in exorcism and magical practices, along with boundary practices such as crossing one's fingers and arms to close one's energy circuit off in the presence of negativity. Prevalent in the South is a love of the healing goddess Izide, where some remains of her temple objects and the obelisk remain. In my book, I speak about the significance of black stones connected with Izide and meteorites and serpents, and what all of these things have to do with her and with channeling. In Volume 2, I'll continue to explain how the Sa Messina from Sardinia and other Italian practices are connected to the spiritualism movement that was born in the United States in the mid-1800s and why that is significant for our modern times. In Volume 2, I'll be also writing about Tuscany and my own stay there in 2009 that would change the course of my life. It's also time to describe my relationship with Aradia, who was the reason I came to Italy in the first place. I'll be visiting some new regions, including Sicily, and I hope to discover why, when I took a break from oil painting a handful of years ago, Aradia compelled me to create these masks with specific markings on their faces, which I called protectors, and which look strikingly similar to masks I recently found in ancient Sardinia's archives that have similar markings, and also ones like the apotropaic masks of Calabria. I'll also visit both the original Museo Etnostorico della Stregoneria, founded by Sandro Odo's brother. Sandro has written wonderful collections about the curative herb traditions of the Silver Valley. And I'll also visit the new Ethnohistorical Museum of Witchcraft, redesigned by science director Paolo Portone. These are both located in Triora. And who knows what else I'll discover, which is the most exciting part of these research trips. I do have a crowdfunding campaign set up if you wish to contribute. Funds will be used for memory cards for my video camera. For example, the first time around I didn't know I'd have so many experiences, so I wasn't prepared to record them. Funds will also pay for translators for areas where only dialects are spoken, for car rides, train trips, and boat trips, and more. So thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and thank you for reading.